So welcome everybody. So the title of this tonight was going to be, it is, you see on your paper, what did I say? The illusion of self. I think I need to rename that because it starts out with a conclusion, and most people, myself included, that's kind of a weird concept that the self is an illusion because it feels real, right? What could feel more real than yourself? So I decided I should retitle it and call it, Who Are You? And that's a pretty deep question. Who are you? And that doesn't have an easy answer. You could give your name and an address. You could say what kind of work you do or used to do. You could say you're a mother or a father or a grandparent, but that doesn't really define you, does it? It's just kind of labels. But what's odd about it is that we have, and who we are changes all the time. All the time. Most of us in this room are old enough to know that who we see in the mirror is not who we were 20 years ago. Our bodies have changed, some of us a lot. It's just different. All of us at one point in our lives, when we're really, really young, we were cute and adorable, and some of you maybe still are, but you can't fit in a stroller anymore, So how is it that we're the same and feel the same when so much has changed? Not just our bodies, but what we think and what we believe. Just about everything has changed. And psychologists tell us, and we know that we've changed over the years, but psychologists tell us that we even change moment to moment, without even us being aware of it. If they call it priming. They just give you exposure to certain words in the context of something else. Like if they had you do a word exercise that had in it senile, old, decrepit, these really, really debilitating kinds of things, and other people would get a different set of words to do word puzzles with, said young, vibrant, energetic, exuberant, and then they would time how long it took the person to go from having done this exercise to turn in their paperwork. And those who had those words of old and decrepit, they walked a lot. Not maybe a lot, but significantly slower, measurably slower than people had and of course they wouldn't be aware that they had changed how they were, just the words, So in a way, we're really not as separate from what's around us as we think we are. Yet we feel the same. There's a Sufi story, and in Sufi stories there's always these little short stories about the protagonist is always named Nasruddin, and Nasruddin is either a wise man or a fool depending on how you interpret the story. And he goes into a bank, and the bank teller says, "Can you identify yourself?" He says, "Oh, sure." He pulls out a mirror, looks in it, says, "Yep, that's me." And that's how it is for us. It's not any one thing that makes us us. It's more how we feel about ourselves. We feel like the same person, but so much has changed. So tonight's not going to be about convincing you that you don't really have a self, because we all experience having a self, but maybe to explore the idea that who we are is much, much bigger than we think of. We're not just our occupation or what we used to do, or our roles at home or at work, or what we've done or where we are. We're really much bigger than that, and much more fluid than that also, because we change so much. And that psychology experiment sounds like a bad thing. That you should be so sensitive to external input, but we're exquisitely sensitive to our surroundings, sensitive to the people around us, sensitive to the environment that we're in. And Einstein called it, the state that we're usually in, he called it a delusion of consciousness. There's a quote that's on the handout. He says, "A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe." He says the whole is the universe. It's like everything. A part limited in time and space. This human being experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. And he goes on to say, nobody's able to achieve this completely, but the striving for such achievement is in itself part of the liberation and a foundation for inner security. So rather than saying this idea of no self as being like a negative, it's like a positive in that sense. You know, you're not really limited to this personality in this body, and we've all had an experience of having our how we act changed by if you have someone you care about or someone you love who's in trouble, you will react, right? You react pretty quickly. There's all the stories about grandmothers lifting up cars to get their grandchild out from under it, and where did that strength come from? And without a thought about, themselves, it's about, you just, in that sense, already, there's a sense of being bigger. I'm looking through my notes to see if there's anything else that I wanted to say. Candace Pert, she's a neuroscientist who studies the brain, and she's credited with discovering the opiate receptor in the brain. So this is a receptor that's sensitive to certain hormones and specifically to a cocaine type of substance in the brain, and it's a natural reaction, a natural receptor, but it gets activated by cocaine and so on. And she wrote a book that's about something like the emotions of chemistry. I'm not remembering what the title was exactly, but her from her research, her observation is that she says, like we're more. Well, you think of ourselves like we're like flesh and we're meat. Just we're not like a hunk of meat. We're more like a flickering flame. So the hormones that are running through us and the reactions that we have that we're processing, and it can be really quite volatile. We can change in a moment. And just think about it. If you ever want to be convinced that you're actually not separate from everything else, just close your nostrils and close your mouth for about 2 minutes. You need to be breathing, and you're breathing what other people are breathing. You're breathing the oxygen that came from trees, and you're giving them carbon dioxide. It's a system. So that's what we're going to explore tonight, and we'll start with the meditation. And like the other meditations we've done done here, first part will be guided. It'll be related to this theme, and the second part will be completely silent. So you can make it a breath meditation or follow the theme if you like, or however you want to do it. That'll be time for you to be in control of your own meditation, which of course you are, all of it. You can just ignore what I say in the beginning too. So just making yourself comfortable. And just feeling yourself being here. You can feel your feet on the floor, your seat on the chair, how your hands are resting in your lap or how they're holding each other. And it's just a moment just to kind of take stock of where you are. And the theme of tonight is who are you, or exploring this concept of self. But we can ask, how are you right now? If you were to do a kind of an inventory of what's going on, just noticing what's going on. Things that may be left over from the day, or thoughts about something that may happen. But for right now, you can just notice that you're physically here. Let your body tell you that it's here by the sensations that it sends you of contact and of weight you can notice how your breath is. Whether you feel it in your belly, or your chest, or your throat, or your nostrils. Just finding a place where you can sense it, directly and vividly. There's nothing really to do with it. It's just noticing how the breath comes and it goes. And there can be thoughts and feelings and sensations that happen as you do that. Just bring it gently but firmly back to breathing. And as you sit there, you might consider or recall some time in your life where something happened, or you're in a situation where you had a feeling or a sense that you were part of something bigger. It could be a time in nature where you're walking in nature and you just have the sense of being in tune with everything, and it's not just you walking along a forest trail, but it's something much bigger than you that you're part of. Or it could be one of those late night conversations with a friend or a loved one where time just seems to stop. And there's a sense of you're not conscious of you being you or them being them, but it's somehow bigger than both of you. Or it could be a time where there's something emerged that was surprising and alarming and dangerous, where somebody had to act. Or you had to put aside your own sense of concern about your own safety to help somebody else, or somebody else had done that for you, or you witnessed this happening. A time where what became important wasn't your own safety, but for the person or persons that you cared about, or you saw this happen. And just letting yourself settle on one of those times when you felt a sense of being bigger than your individual self, limited by the dimensions of your body and your skin. Or it included somebody or something else, something bigger. And for that moment, or those moments, it wasn't a reflection on who you were or what your identity was, but you were just somehow in connection with something much larger, something that might not even be describable. Or a way of acting or being that just came out of, that emerged from you, not because of forethought or planning, just emerged from being in the environment you were in, or having the situation present itself as it did. Or you might be able to recall a time where how you responded to something surprised you. Maybe in response to to something that happened at home or at work, and your response was a surprise, and a positive surprise that you acted in a way you didn't expect, or it could even be a negative surprise, but often we can surprise ourselves by a response that we might have. In response to a crisis that's come up at work or at home, or a way you reacted to yours or another's injury or disease that at first seemed absolutely horrible, but there was something about it that expanded your sense of who you were, who you are. And letting your self-sense into how it feels to be here right now. Sitting in the chair you're sitting in or laying on the floor. How it feels to be in this body. How it feels to be you. And if there was a sense in the previous reflections of a time when you felt larger than yourself or part of something much larger, you can take the next few minutes. There will be a silent meditation to explore that, or you can just make it your own meditation, a breath meditation, or however you want to take that time, because this is your meditation. So the next few minutes will be silent.